Welcome to the Kids Biz Podcast, your go-to source for unlocking the secrets to success in orthodontics and pediatric dentistry. Each episode, we bring you expert guests who share innovative strategies and insider tips to help your practice thrive. Whether you're looking to enhance patient care, boost your marketing, or stay ahead of industry trends, we've got you covered. Join us on this exciting journey to elevate your practice and make a lasting impact in the lives of your young patients. Let's dive in.
We've got Dr. Tyler Hanks. He owns Happy Tooth in Salt Lake City, and I'm super excited. I have never actually met you, Dr. Tyler, in person, but I follow you on social media as lots of other providers and patients do. He went to Arizona School of Dentistry and then did his pediatric residency at Children's Mercy Hospital. He opened up his own practice in 2020. He has just basically, in my mind, like revolutionized pediatric dentistry. He offers his own product line now, and his wife practices with him. So that's super fun and interesting. They have myofunctional therapy in their office and doing a bunch of Airway stuff in that space as well, like our office. So I'm super excited to kind of pick your brain and kind of hear about what you're doing, not only from the social media side that we like to do, but it just seems like practice philosophy. We have a lot of things that are similar.
Love it. I'm excited to be here. Thanks for that intro. I think all that's true. Yeah. I went to dental school and graduated and passed all my classes, all those things.
So basically, I mean, you grew very, very quickly. I feel like your practice is now, 4 years old?
Yep. We just turned 4 a couple weeks ago.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting. And you did like a scratch start like I did, right? Just no patients, just started your own brand.
Started fresh. I out of residency, I started working as an associate for a buddy up in Oregon, Medford, Oregon. And after a couple months, I just realized, like, as awesome as he is, as awesome as so many other dentists are, I got to do it my own way and like find a way to, make it mine. Not the treating of the patient, yes, how we treat them, but also like the clinical care has to be high. And that's what we learn in dental school. But the other side of it, the business side of things and starting something fresh, you don't really learn in dental school. So like that was, that's 4 years ago. I scratched from nothing, right in the heart of Salt Lake City, where there's a dentist on every corner that speaks 2 or 3 languages, and is skilled and talented. I decided to be the crazy guy to open one up and go from there.
Well, everyone's glad you did.
I've got a question about, you mentioned that you had kind of been in this practice and just realized that, you don't teach the business side of the practice. What was that aha moment for you where you realized, like, I've got to do something different and the business side I need to focus?
Yeah. So, and I really apologize in advance. Every time I try to answer a question, I give maybe too much context. But I think it just helps people understand me and where I come from, because sometimes I'm maybe misunderstood for wearing a hat to work. So I just try to provide context. So, like with that being said, prior to dental school, during undergrad, I worked as a dental assistant for my neighbor who owned like 17 pediatric dental practices in Salt Lake City. Really successful, had a pretty cool brand, and well known. I think it was the biggest multi-practice pediatric business in Salt Lake. And so I learned a lot from that side of things, that dentistry can be more than one practice, and you can have an associate, and you can have a brand. And so that's kind of where I fell in love with that idea. And as I started to work with my buddy in Oregon, he understood some of those concepts, but I don't think his heart was there with it. He had his eyes set on creating a DSO and doing different things. My heart was set on, I want this to be a brand. I want this to be me. And so after a few months, it was like, as much as I want to help my buddy grow this DSO and kind of fulfill that dream that I had back when I watched my neighbor own 17 practices, I had this kind of tug of war with, should I be a CEO or a clinician? And ultimately, being a clinician that was my own CEO won me over. And I don't know if it was any one moment. I think it was just a few months of work. And I was like, wait, I went to all that schooling not to be a CEO. I went there to be a clinician. I actually, after a few months, was like, I like this. I just don't like doing it this way. I don't want to be a DSO. I want to do it fun and have a cool brand. And so, yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but there's
Yeah,
the
it certainly does. And
context.
I think so many dentists and orthodontists miss that point of, I want to be my own brand. I want to be my own boss. I want to be my own CEO, but to create a brand, I think is something that's out of the box for most pediatric dentists and orthodontists. So I think that's really insightful.
Now, was doing social media kind of always part of your strategy, or was it kind of like just right timing, right place? Because for me, that was never like part of the strategy. It was just kind of like the timing of opening up our practice, the timing of TikTok kind of taking off. It was just kind of great timing. Was this like a master plan that you kind of had always known that you really wanted to get involved in?
Great question. I think I've been drawn to the power of social media, before dental school and throughout dental school. But I had 80 followers personally. Like I wasn't someone to post. I posted on my kids' birthdays, like most dentists,
Yeah.
I'll say. So like that was. I understood its power. I was a huge Gary Vee fan, and of him just saying, "Hey, put a camera on and document and see what happens." And so I kind of took that to heart as I was opening my practice. Like, well, once I had created a brand, I was like, cool. I spent a lot of money creating this awesome brand that is very much me. What good does it do if it's just on my signage? Like, let's get that out for people to see. But to kind of answer your question, I think it was both. Like, I don't think it was this master plan all along that I knew that I wanted to be on social media, but also early on, it was like, we have this great brand. Gary Vee's telling me to just turn a camera on and talk. And also it's free. Like it just costs my time. I don't have to go out and pay. Like I was totally against mailers. I hate mail. I hate going to my mailbox and throwing away everything that's in there. Like I hated that, or billboards or radio or TV. Like none of it, all of it costs, and it's tough to track, who people.
Well, and everyone
how
does it. Yeah.
Yes, and everyone does it, and everyone looks the same doing it.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to like zig where everyone else zags, or zag where everyone else zigs. And so I started my social media account. I think, Happy Tooth SLC. I think I started it maybe 2 or 3 months before I knew we could open doors, and we started scheduling patients. We started following people. We had this fun little strategy, but like literally I think I had two employees when I opened, or even a couple months before I opened. And one of them was just a social media dude. I said, hey, you're young, you're hungry.
Great.
Let's get out there and let's make videos, and let's be silly. Let's document. Let's start following people in the area. Let's start following people that are posting in Salt Lake. And to me, that's more successful than a mailer. Like if they see your brand on their phone, they'll be like, what is this? And on day one, we had 30 patients for our first day open, which was crazy.
How long did you launch how long before you opened did you launch the social media?
I think it was probably 2 months, and like really, really active, probably like 30 days.
Yeah, that's how it was for me. I actually regret not starting it sooner, because I could have shown more of like the background, like the startup, like kind of more storytelling. But I just didn't have the opportunity to do that. I kind of thought of it too late.
So now, go ahead. I was going to ask so when it came to the social media platforms, was there a strategy that you had in terms of which ones that you were going to get on, or did you just get on them all? And then were there any that have really, like when you said you had 30 patients day one, I mean, that's great. Was that from one specific platform? So kind of fill us in on that.
Yeah, good question. Yeah, early on it was Instagram. In 2020, I think that was probably the most used platform by young parents, or people my age at the time, like 20s to 35, 40s. And so that was kind of the choice, is let's get on Instagram. And Instagram's really easy to link to your Facebook. So if you're posting on Instagram, you're posting on Facebook for the older generation. Things have changed, but that's how it was then. And then TikTok, started to come around. I was like, okay, let's just post on all three. And now we've expanded to so many different others now that we have a team. But originally it was me and a buddy, and never forget my first like time turning the camera and talking to Happy Tooth or as Happy Tooth, and it taking like an hour to film something that should take 15 seconds. It was so silly. And I think that's what stops a lot of people, is like you go and you see yourself, you're like, man, this is
feeling stupid,
so dumb. Like this is so uncomfortable. And I still feel like that when I see myself. But it's like, it's hard to deny the results. Like when 80% of our business our first year was Instagram, how are you going to stop that?
Yeah.
I mean, we were getting like 450 new patients a month just from
Wow.
Instagram. And it was like free. Like all we had to do was sit and talk about stuff or post silly stuff or answer questions. Like, and now it's not that simple. There's definitely strategy and there's a lot that goes into it, but I don't know. I guess that's what it feels like sometimes.
What makes you feel like you have such like high engagement? Because like, I started about maybe a year after you. And like, again, like I said, timing was everything with TikTok. It was just blew up very quickly. And then with Instagram, it's been like a slow burn. Like, I mean, I'm shy of 10,000 and here you are at like hundreds of thousands. So like what do you think it was? Cause a lot of people will say it's harder to grow on Instagram just cause it's so much more saturated.
Yeah.
What do you think brought so much success on Instagram for you?
I mean, early on, it's funny, early on, even before Instagram, I created a space and a brand, with the help of Hood Spa, who are Orange County awesome design company. Amy and Jen Hood, they're the freaking best. They do a ton of work for great big companies, and they decided to help this loner out. But I spent a lot of time creating a brand and a space that matched that brand and me. So it was very easy to, even though it was hard to get online and post about myself, it was very easy to have something to post about. Like, this place is beautiful. We got a huge wall that says "Bite Me," and that's not normal. Like in the dental office, there's just so many. We got a basketball court, and so it was very easy to like have this.
It's very
Instagrammable
space.
Yeah, right. But like ultimately, when I was creating it, that wasn't really a thought. Like it became easy after, and I wish I was that smart to be like, let's make this place for Instagram. But it really was a spot that every corner I looked at, I wanted it to be not a dental practice.
Yeah.
Outside of the dental chair, like I wanted we got concrete floor, kids spit and bleed and throw up, and it's easy, we just wipe it up. We don't gotta get new carpet. So that was one piece that became really easy to post about, and I think helped us get traction. But ultimately, like quantity and quality, but quantity, like just posting frequently was our strategy. Let's get on there and talk, as frequent as we can, as long as there's quality, or create videos as often as we can. And I think, man, was it maybe 2 years ago, Kate, I think maybe 2 years ago, we still only had like 10,000 followers on Instagram. And so it really wasn't for me, about our engagement, like how many likes and follows are we getting at a time. It was like, I know that if we keep posting stuff, we will be 5 years ahead of any other dentist in the area. And it was kind of cool to watch the other dentists start to try to post stuff in the area, because I think they felt like they were losing patients or something, which isn't the truth. Like, there's so many kids out there. Everyone needs to chill out. There's so many patients. Mm-hmm. The other strategy we used early on, which actually didn't help, was we got local influencers. Salt Lake is, I don't know, the mommy blogger capital of the universe. Yeah. And yes, exactly. And I think we've had like half them on at Happy Tooth, as well as every other mom talker, mom blogger. We'd invite them to Happy Tooth, and it was a really easy space for them to talk about. And obviously we had to deliver the care. That you can't just be like lipstick on a pig. You got to be a dentist and, I guess have lipstick on. I don't know what that analogy means, but yeah, like it was like once a week we had a different influencer posting about Happy Tooth, and that was cool. And I think that got the word out, but it really didn't create much of a following. Their followers continued to follow them and said, cool, they went to a cool dentist. They didn't start following us. Yeah. We didn't really get traction until about 2 or 3 years in, first on TikTok and then on Instagram.
That gives me hope that there's room to grow on Instagram.
It's there. Like, I love what you guys are doing. And ultimately, if it brings patients in the door, awesome. And it's really not about how many thousands of followers you have.
Right.
At this point, what like where we're trying to grow is, I want to post stuff that makes me happy. And I also have a product company. I want to post stuff that drives people there. But all for the underlying goal of making dentistry differently, changing the perception of dentistry. So from the products we make to the practice to us on social media, I just want it to be different. And I don't care if we get 1 million followers or we get 100 likes. I just want to post stuff that, helps change the perception of dentistry, literally.
Well, and like you said, you're a clinician first, probably CEO down here and then content creator down here. But I think that's a great segue to kind of like talking about like what does the patient experience look like for your patients? Because I know that your wife is in the practice now. She's like your guys' Airway dentist. Our pediatric dentist does both in our office. And then I know that you guys have myofunctional therapy in the office as well. We usually refer out. So I'm just kind of curious, like, what does, if a new patient comes in and they have all the symptoms, right? They have the high palatal vault, maybe like their kid's bedwetting, they have some ADHD. That patient walks in. What does that look like at Happy Tooth for them?
Great question. And I want to just like rewind it just a hair from there because, I apologize, but like for me, the patient experience is the second they see us online or however they hear about us, right? So, because there's a lot more that goes into when you are a patient's right in front of you, right? There's them seeing what you're like online, seeing what the practice is like online, and then calling and hearing someone over the phone. Like that's all the parent, right? But a lot of parents are actually showing their kids, this is where you're going, this is your dentist. And that, like all of that starts to create, I don't know, some level of familiarity for the kid and the parent. And then they show up and we have someone, our front office, all of our admin is hidden in our practice. It's none of it's patient facing. We have someone at check-in that's kind of like Apple. You walk in and they're waiting for you and they're ready to check you in, but they're not on the phone. They're not too busy for you. They're not dealing with the bill. And so like, there's just a lot of steps that go into before I'm in front of them looking at the symptoms. And I just want to mention that because I think a lot of the times going through dental school, you are so focused on being a provider. And I think that's important. But I think environment plays such a big role in patient outcomes as much as the provider does in patient outcomes. And so think of your environment when you think of patient experience and think of them every step of the way before they get to you. And I'm not saying that to you guys. You guys know what you're talking about. I'm just preaching to the choir. But
I'm thinking about my next build out. I'm like, all right, yeah, we gotta have the Apple check them in.
Yep.
Because you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I wanted to create a spot that's like a children's museum when you walk in and you can't smell or hear the dentist or any dental conversations. It's just, who are you guys? Awesome. Let's take a photo from this wall. Let's play at the bright light wall, whatever. And then in the back, we have a small dental clinic. And then you get to play basketball on your way out. It's fun. But back to Airway, like when I sit down and the more we've been doing this and triaging this, it's crazy how many parents they're just in shock or they're almost in tears that they found you or that you're talking about these symptoms because so many other specialties providers have kind of either brushed them off or medicated or, I think someone awesome, dismissed, or someone awesome said we're in medicine and even in dentistry, sometimes we cut the body into 100 different pieces and just treat our 1/100th and forget that it's all connected. No offense to, the medical profession, but the mouth is connected to the body and it's the gateway to our health. So, there's so many things that we see, but I treat every new patient the same. I treat every patient the same. But if we start to see these symptoms, before I get in there, my assistants are asking a lot of questions. We ask about home habits, we ask about diet, we ask about hygiene, and then we start to ask about sleep, and that's kind of been a newer thing. And parents are like, "Why are you asking about if my kid is bedwetting? Why are you asking about this?" So by the time I get in the room, and look over just a quick paragraph, I know what's going on with this kid. I'll look at their x-rays real quick. We'll talk to parents. And then we just kind of look at the teeth and talk through things with parents. And it's like, there's so many parents. Well, let me just say this. At starting Airway here, it was, some parents were like, I've never heard of that.
Right.
Like that. And you're not in a lab coat. Like, are you a used car? Like, what are you trying to sell me? Right.
Yeah.
But then as word of mouth gets out, when you start getting kids off of their ADHD meds or you prevent, some type of adenoid or tonsil surgery, right? Or you get some kid that they had done all the surgeries and all the physicians had resorted to is, all right, you're 7, you got to be on oxygen the rest of your life. And we go a year in our treatment and she's done. No oxygen, nothing needed. She's symptom free. Those stories start to get out and then you start to get patients that care about it and believe. But I go from that experience, seeing them, and if they need dental treatment, I got to fix a tooth. I say this to my parents, Dr. Hanks, I fix teeth. My wife, Dr. Kara, fixes tongues and palates. And so if they need something like that, if they're showing airway symptoms, we get them in with Dr. Kara for
And
a
is
free
that a
consult.
separate visit?
Yeah, it's a separate visit. So
Yeah.
I'll see them for, routine care, and then they'll come back for me for dental treatment. And we try to sometimes line those up where maybe they're getting a cavity fixed and doing an airway consult. And then she kind of takes them from there if they need it, airway treatment. It's kind of like two practices under one roof.
Yeah.
And we share patients, but she also gets patients referred to her from other providers, and I get plenty of patients that don't need airway. So
right.
Yeah.
I guess my last question with that whole thing is, do you guys have a CVCT in your office? Like, what tools is she kind of using at that consult to have like patient buy-in? Because I think that that's a really big thing is, if the mom is following certain Instagram accounts, then maybe they know what they're talking about. But if we just refer them
moms.
over,
those moms know their stuff. It's
and they come in asking for it almost, right?
Yeah.
But we are in the infancy of rolling out this airway stuff.
Yeah.
And I do get some feedback feeling like, oh yeah, they just are trying to sell me on something else.
Yeah. Trying to take your money. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just like, so what does your guys' like consult look like to have the patients buy in and truly get it?
Yeah, and ultimately, like, we're still figuring that out and still perfecting that, and it's changed a lot. So I think that's one part of it, is like, be okay adapting and changing.
Yeah.
Some of the better advice we got from Dr. Ben Moralia, who's like the father of airway dentistry right now, he's awesome, is be totally okay with people thinking you're crazy and saying no. Like, don't be offended by it. When I present treatment, it's never that way. It's like, this is what I'm seeing. Let's get in. I think we could help you here. But you got to choose what's best for you. And this stuff isn't cheap. So we got to prioritize it. Now that kind of discredits it too. So I also try to show its urgency and its priority. But what those consults look like with Dr. Kara, it's similar to like an ortho, similar to what you do. You get your photos.
Mm-hmm.
When we're doing our older kiddos where we're going to do expansion, we'll do like a ceph and make sure they have a current pano. We don't do CBCTs, cone beams during our initial consult. We try to keep it really light. We're just getting photos and kind of showing them where their kid's at, zoomed in, because a lot of parents will be like, yeah, your kid's grinding their teeth. Like, no, they're not. Like, okay, this is what normal teeth look like. Your kids ground those down in half, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of showing that we have a nice presentation. We kind of show them their kids' photos next to what the norm should be. The problem is the norm is not that much. We don't have a lot of kids with great spaced out teeth and awesome fully developed jaws. Like, everyone is so tight these days. So it's hard for a parent to really trust that. But yeah, we kind of show them where their kid's at, and not just their teeth, but their posture, right? And is their jaw tucked back? All the stuff you do in ortho.
Yeah.
And then we talk about like symptoms, what symptoms their kid is hitting on, and really hit those home. Now, apnea and airway related dental issues can be multifactorial. And so we're aware that ENTs do play a role with the airway. Orthodontists for sure play a role, right? And so not just acting like we have all the answers is part of the consult too, but just saying, hey, we want to throw our hat in the ring for your kids having symptoms. Let's see what we can do to treat them. And we have multiple. That's helped us too, is we've kind of shifted our treatment options. We've gone from like just a myo and mouth guard type patient, like a mini or 3 through like 6 or 7 year olds, or the kids that are maybe between phase 1 and phase 2 that just need myo.
Were you using Myo Brace?
She uses like a couple different brands. Myo Brace is one, the Vivos mouth guard is another, and then there's the older kids that need full blown upper and lower expansion. Yep, and myo in conjunction with that. So yes, she's a myofunctional therapist, and we have another myofunctional therapist on staff.
Oh, she's wow.
She's myo trained. Yeah,
that's amazing to have that on top of it.
yeah. So it's been cool. And then, I have upstairs. I have an awesome orthodontist, and so that's kind of where I'm at with most parents. As we get closer to 7 or 8, if we're still having these symptoms, which ideally we could fix before 6, right? Let's fix much sooner than that. But if we're 7 or 8 and we're still having symptoms, we have a decision to make. Do we go get expanded from an orthodontist that won't do any myo, or do we expand it here and do the myo? If you're not having symptoms, awesome. Let's go see the orthodontist. Let's get phase 1 going, right? Like, that's totally great. But if you're having symptoms, let's get expanded and fix that tongue.
Yeah.
So anyways, probably too much provider info. You can totally cut all that out, but
I love
it.
No, I think for our listeners, it's great.
Well,
I'll hand it over to Navin.
I mean, you guys have discussed a lot of what I was kind of wanting to go back to the experience. You're obviously, Dr. Hanks, obsessed with experience, and the you know, and I always say to doctors, I mean, your patients are having an experience no matter what. It's just what kind of experience are you providing them? So earlier you mentioned some information about, like, there's a lot of education that has to be done with some of the airway stuff and some of these procedures that you're doing. Cause like, it's not fully mainstream in a lot of areas. And you got some of the docs that aren't really doing it in their practice and stuff. So how do you incorporate this education element, which I would think would take, in some cases, maybe a lot of time? It could be kind of boring. How do you incorporate that into the experience?
Good question. That's something that my team probably is really just annoyed with me every day, because I probably say the same things over and over all day. I mean, I see 60, 70 patients a day, and with most of these patients and parents, I'm saying the same thing. So, but how do we get that to be part of the experience? I think something that's been really helpful for me is I have 4 sons. One that's gone the traditional ortho route like I did, and I have that experience of early expansion of braces. He had phase 1, now he needs phase 2. I was a kid that ground my teeth. I'm an adult that grinds my teeth. I used to wet the bed as a kid. I wake up every night as an adult to still go to the bathroom. And I was diagnosed with sleep apnea. So for me, it's like a very personal, it's not hard to talk about. Like, my kids are going through this. I have 3 kids now that are in airway treatment, and I've seen their sleep and their mouths change like right before my eyes. And so it's not hard for me to talk about. And I do the same when we're talking about cavities or home habits or snacks or finding a fun way to brush or getting rid of the binky or the thumb habit. Like, for me, it's really easy to talk about over and over all day. Now, not really easy. It's not easy to be a provider. Not everyone loves you, and that's totally okay. But like, it's something I'm passionate about. So it's not hard for me in a patient appointment to go over it. Now, I don't have those conversations with every single patient. We ask those questions, and a lot of the times if I'm seeing some signs and the parent's like, yeah, they sleep fine, I'll maybe push them down that line a little bit and be like, well, I'm awesome. They're awesome. They're sleeping great, but this is what I'm seeing with their tongue or their palate, or they're crowding, they're grinding through their teeth. Let's talk about that for a sec. But I don't push it. I say, go home and investigate. Let's come, and if you see something consistent, let's get in with Dr. Kara, or let's touch base in 6 months. Now, the parents that are like, yes, they snore, yes, that, and know what's going on, but maybe haven't heard of airway, then it's a big educational piece. Like, I spend probably most of my time with those parents. Like, we'll talk about cavities for a sec. That's simple. You got a cavity, let's fix it. We're going to do a white filling or silver crown or white crown, not that complicated. Airway, I do try to spend time. And then I think that helps that consult. Like, they go in with some knowledge, some awareness. They're investigating the kid's sleep before they show up for the consult. If they show up for the consult and they have no idea why they're there or why it's important, and then in the consult, you really want to address their chief concern. Like, are they really worried that the kid's grinding their teeth? Is it their kids, bedwetting? Are they waking? Like, you really want to focus, because if you focus on all of it, most parents are like, yeah, my kid only has 2 of those things. They're fine. So we try to focus on those 2 things and really talk about that. So and I do the same during all my exams. If there's something going on, whether it's ortho related, airway related, decay related, we're going to talk about it.
If you're like most orthodontic and pediatric dental practices, you're probably struggling with oral hygiene compliance, observation conversions, and an increase of shoppers, especially among young patients and their families. In my practice, Wild Smiles makes converting observation and phase 1 patients easy. Young patients and their shopping families value a personalized experience. When I first added Wild Smiles to my practice, they made inventory and reordering easy, and they even led our team through simple instructions on integrating Wild Smiles into our existing systems. So we saw an immediate success. Grow your early orthodontic patient population with Wild Smiles to combat boring traditional braces and expensive phase 1 aligners. Check out wildsmilebraces.com/doctors to choose the customizable easy start kit that's right for your practice. Mention code KidsBiz to save 10% off your first order.
On the business side of what you're talking about, because you're doing all these things that not everybody's doing, what are some of the specific KPIs, key performance indicators, that you're measuring to actually determine kind of if this is helping your practice grow? What are some of those numbers that you're looking at?
Yeah. Well, if we're talking specifically about Airway, like for me, is my wife happy? Cool with that. Like that's the biggest KPI. Like, is she happy with, what she's doing? But yeah, obviously it has to make sense, as a business owner. And so, and those KPIs we're learning and shifting and growing. And we actually just launched a new Airway only ad that is bringing in a lot of those patients that are seeking Airway instead of, my patients that I'm pushing there. We want people that can identify it and really want to push for it, because those consults are a lot easier, to talk through and to get started treatment. But very similar to the KPIs in my own practice, like my practice vitals. I want to know how many new patients we're getting per day, and that's a number that we report per day. In my practice, we for my side, we report how many Google reviews we got that day. Like, are we offering an awesome experience? And same goes for any new patients. And then, of those consults, what percent are scheduling and what percent are waiting 6 months and then scheduling treatment? So just kind of tracking of all the consults, what percent is jumping into treatment. And then from there, we have a goal of kind of how many deliveries, how many Airway starts do we have in a month? And all those numbers kind of align. If we hit a certain amount of consults, we're probably going to hit a certain amount of deliveries or Airway starts.
Probably very similar to ortho.
Yeah. I mean, if you do, yeah, exactly. Very similar, right? You just figure out what that percentage is and you try to get better and better at your consults or find patients that are, more ready for it, I guess, to have those percentages go up.
So like in ortho, I think like the goal is 80% conversion, but then, in certain economies, maybe it goes down to like 60. I feel like right now with the economy, it's more like 60. What is your guys' goal in your conversion rate?
Yeah, I think 60 is a good, a great starting point, because we're new-ish too. Now, some of our mentors, they're like, we get 95% acceptance on Airway starts, and they're charging double or triple what we do. And I'm like, that's awesome. You've been around for 10 years. You have this niche, like people know you for this. Me, I'm different. People don't know me for that. So all of a sudden I'm talking about it. It feels very different. But for me, it's all been really organic. Like my wife and I went to an Airway conference out of curiosity, and we're both diagnosed with sleep apnea. Now, hopefully it's not like a coincidence or, snake oil. It's not. I don't think everyone there was diagnosed with sleep apnea, but like it just became it became very personal for us from that conference. And then she started to study it more and more, and I started to study it, and I was like, I logistically just can't add these services, but I do believe that they're important. And then, really organically, it just became like she wants to do this. We have to do this. I feel bad seeing so many kids that grind their teeth and being like, sorry, Mom, hopefully we outgrow this. And, hopefully,
they're just baby teeth.
They're just baby teeth. Exactly. Yeah. Or after braces, we'll put a Band-Aid on there and put a guide on there so we don't grind through our teeth the rest of our life. Like those are not great solutions, but it was all that I knew until, about 3 or 4 years
Last
ago.
KPI question. Do you measure how many dunks on the basketball goal? Yeah,
Definitely. We measure everything here. Yeah. We're really competitive. Yeah. Kara just beat me. We played a game of basketball, kind of like pig, but with our dental loops on. You could only look through your loops.
I hope you got that on video.
And she beat me.
Okay, great.
We did, yeah.
Great. I can't wait for that post.
I won't allow that to. Yeah. It's gonna take a lot of bribing.
So, as you've added, and you kind of talked about some of these other, leaders in this field that have added other, been around 10 years and added this stuff. What challenges have you run into as you've added these services in your practice, either from a community standpoint or from an integration standpoint? From, what are some of those challenges that you're facing?
Yeah, I mean, so I started my practice from the ground up, fresh, no systems. Had to create every single system that we run today. And by systems, it's not just how patients check in and out and how patients pay. Like it's employee systems, certain things that we say, how we check people in, how we talk to them, every little thing that we do here, there is a system for it. And to have that just running where I felt finally smooth, having the right employees and the right system, took me about 3 years to get there. And then we decided to add Airway, which had no system. It was like starting over again with this really well-oiled machine and a practice that really didn't have a ton of room. Like I don't have much more space for Airway, and we're already kind of outgrowing our practice from the Airway side of things. And so the challenges were integrating, like you said, integrating this whole basically startup Airway practice within my well-oiled machine. And there's been some give and take there. There's been me maybe giving up a clinical room that I wasn't really up for, but then that's been really helpful for Airway, and we've seen that's made actually more financial sense. But at first I was really, there's just been little things or hiring certain employees at certain times. It's basically been its own startup practice trying to merge with an ongoing practice. Within the community, it's, it's just tough because people will go, and they'll say, okay, my kid snores. Why is my dentist treating that? I'll go to the physician, I'll go to the ENT, and the ENT will be like, yeah, I've never heard of that. And so they come back and be like, yeah, or they'll go to the orthodontist, and the orthodontist is like, yeah, it's not real. It's like you just hear certain things in the community where people they're just not current with current research. They're not there yet. They're comfortable in their own lane, and that CE portion of continuing to learn and see what's out there is crucial. But then there's the other parts of the community where it's been really awesome. And now we have a ton of providers sending patients our way because of the success stories and because of what they're seeing, with current research and kind of our results. So there's challenges across the board. I think not just logistically within a practice, adding it, but also within the community. And then, I think maybe our biggest strength has been being totally okay to have really, really strong conversations and open conversations, but even between Kara and I, my wife, she's her own provider and basically runs her own practice here. As far as Airway goes, they're your patients, right? But they're in our own home. And so we have to share. That has been probably the toughest part, is learning to dance with another provider. And I think that's the same goes for any business owner that hires an associate or that has a partner, or whose partner is their partner.
That's another layer of complexity.
100%. So that, there's every type of challenge you can imagine with adding an adjunct, service, or not adjunct, a whole nother, field of dentistry is there. It has 1000% been worth it from my heart. It just feels good to offer that. And I know Kara loves what she's doing. But also financial sense. She's done awesome. She's done really, really well. And honestly, we're doing it for much cheaper than a lot of providers are.
You talked earlier about the amount of social media, obviously, that you're doing and how it basically, other than your time, it costs nothing, which I would argue is valuable. I mean, does that play into your marketing budget? Must be lower than some others, or are you doing things outside of just social media?
Yeah. If you ask my tax guy, I'm doing that a lot. I'm just kidding. No, I mean, we do, I try to be as involved as I can in the community. Early on, I was doing all sorts of stuff to market, going to local businesses and collaborating and we still collaborate, but, I'm more busy now. So most of our marketing is, bigger events, with, local sports teams like the Jazz or the football team, doing a golf event, or going and speaking, at different dental schools or conferences. Those are where most of my marketing budget is now. I did run social media ads for my practice for about a year, as we started kind of have a name for ourselves, and that drove a lot of patients. And now I don't do that anymore. So really, my marketing budget is probably right there with most providers, but it's mostly events and collaborations versus trying to get new patients in the door. Now for Airway, we're a little newer. It's a younger practice. So we are doing social media, Facebook and Instagram ads to get Airway.
And on the backside, you treat that like a separate business unit with its own budget and its own, or is it
No, so yeah, I mean, good question. I definitely categorize them different, but it's still all under the roof of, this one business. But I do very much track how much we're spending on Airway dental supplies
Gotcha.
versus
Right.
my dental supplies,
Mm.
how much Airway production we're doing versus, and so yeah, just to make sure that Airway is profitable. And luckily, the way that we've done it, it's under the same roof, so she's not like she doesn't have she doesn't have rent. She doesn't have like I lease the space. She doesn't need to. I have 15 employees. There's two of those employees, well, do just Airway, and so like yeah, I mean, she's got a much thinner practice than mine, a much younger one, and so that's helped keep things profitable. It's something definitely I'm always
Sure.
tracking how many deliveries are we getting, how many new patients, how much are we spending here, and how much are we producing, all that stuff. Yeah, to keep things healthy.
For some of our listeners that like maybe don't even really know what we're talking about, because we call it MyoSmile program, but like say that you get an Airway start or conversion, what is included for that patient and what does that look like? What does that start look like for them?
Yeah, so we have a few different starts. There's our mini start, which is our younger kiddos we're trying to fix by 6. Our kids that have permanent first molars in, the palate is a little tougher to move. We have our kind of our full treatment where we're doing, more, and we'll talk through that. And then we have like our teenage kiddos that need maybe braces plus Airway. And so all three plans, our mini, our full, and our teenage plan, include 2 years of myofunctional therapy. And that
And
can
Kara
be
is doing that as well as your other myofunctional therapist.
so she oversees it,
Okay.
but the other myofunctional therapist is in the weeds. She's
Got it.
she's there with them every time they're in, and so that can be 6 months straight. You're here once a month for 6 months, and we're the third party helping push those exercises. We're trying to build that muscle memory and get the tongue where it should be, right?
Mm-hmm. It's a
And that can
scaffold.
and yeah, and it can take some time. Now some kids pick it up and they don't need 6 visits, and some kids need like 24. They need to be there once a month, so it just kind of depends on the kiddo. But Dr. Kara starts and kind of oversees that plan and oversees the care. But the myofunctional therapist, Shelby, that we have is awesome, doing the exercises, following up, making sure that they're getting in. And then with that we have an app that comes with all of our exercises, are on video. So we practice them. We get that motion working and get them kind of showing, just like physical therapy. If you go to a physical therapist, they're going to show you what you should do and get your form right, and then you're going to go home and you have to put the work in at home.
Did you guys
And
create
that's
this
how.
app?
So we didn't create the app. It's just kind of like this. It's just an awesome, very user-friendly app. I think Kara will have to tell you. I think I'm going to butcher the name, so I'm not even going to say it.
We'll
But
link it in the
totally, yeah,
podcast at
Totally.
the very
totally.
bottom. We'll
It's a
follow
great
up.
it's a great like platform to. It's basically like exactly what you get from like a workout app or like a physical therapist. That here's a bunch of exercises or tools for you to be able to have at home.
Yeah.
And so we offer that, for free for a time. We also offer like a paid monthly version of that, to some parents that don't want full Airway treatment, don't want one of those 3 big plans. They just want the myofunctional therapy. And so that's included. And then I don't have it all in front of me, but the bigger plan, the kids that need palate expansion, upper and lower expanders, we're kind of expanding upper and lower at a rapid rate, and then we got to train the tongue into that new space. And so yeah, I mean, honestly happy to send anything and link anything what we include in our full Airway treatment.
Yeah, I think
But
people that don't even know like how to monetize this, it doesn't exist. Orthodontist,
yeah,
people do the consult. It's been the same for years and years.
yeah,
Whereas I
yeah.
feel like a lot of people are interested, but they're like, how do I monetize this?
Yeah, yeah, and really, like, if you have a myofunctional therapist and you're filling her chair up with kids that need myofunctional therapy related to Airway, like it's I don't know, we see them once or twice, and then the myofunctional therapist sees them, and
Right.
that is very profitable, right? Now for expanders, there's more that Dr. Kara's got to do. She's got to make sure we're expanding, and she sees them for a lot more visits. She's got to do the scan, the Ceph, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the myo, those 2 years of myo, as long as we're headed down the right track. Now she'll pull Dr. Kara in from time to time, but that's a very easy thing to monetize. If I think on our end, like there are some kids we do outside of our Airway treatment that just do myo, but most of the kids we're doing it in conjunction with Airway. And so it's kind of like you start, similar to an orthodontist, you might start treatment and then your assistants help a lot along the way, right? And I think there's a way to monetize it, and we've got ours figured out, our little portion, but there's a lot.
Is it
there's
kind
a
of,
lot
and
there.
this might be kind of an ignorant question, I don't know, but is it kind of like adding in a hygiene program for the first time? Like adding the myofunctional therapist in could kind of have some parallels to that, or?
Yeah, I think for an Airway dentist,
Okay.
yeah, for sure. Because like, I don't know, we want to create space for the tongue. We want to expand. And orthodontists do an awesome job at that. But we got to get that tongue in the right spot. And often the tongue and that muscle work, especially for young kids, even for kids that you're expanding, like it takes time. It takes time with the provider. It takes chair time. And so having an app where they can practice at home, but then also having a therapist or two or three as you get more and more busy that can help you get those patients in and being taken care of at a high level is awesome. The other side of it is having assistants that can do scans for you. And, just like an orthodontist, the more you can be sitting down and getting starts, I think the more profitable you are. Now you got to make sure you can do that at scale. And so, yeah, that's the more myofunctional therapists that you need is a good sign. You're getting a lot of kids into myo, and the more assistance you need means you're getting a lot more kids into expanders, or ortho braces.
Well, this has been really like I still need to come to your office and visit just because we do have a lot of parallels.
We would love it. Come by.
Yeah, we're gonna have to orchestrate it. But what do you feel like is the next thing? You talked about in the very beginning, your friend was like a DSO, and you didn't have plans for that. Are you like a one office dude, or what? What do you think of the future? What do you think of Happy Tooth looking like?
Yeah, good question. It's a good question. I mean, I've been asked that a lot over the last 4 years. Man, you got such a cool brand, or you guys franchise. And I'm like, no, it's just my baby, right? It's just my baby. And ultimately I've landed on, I think after a year of seeing, well, like people are attaching meaning to this space. People are attaching meaning to me. Like, I don't know why, but it's cool. I didn't expect it. So what do we do with this? Like, do we just help our corner of the world, or is there more to be done? And I think that's kind of what birthed the idea of like, let's change the entire perception of dentistry. And that's not just my corner of the world. That's with dental products. That's with, social media. That's including Airway dentistry as part of just routine care. And so what's next for Happy Tooth? I am exploring the idea of franchising Happy Tooth. I don't love the idea of a DSO. Now, not that all DSOs are evil, but of a DSO only because you get providers in there that don't have ownership. They're going to learn everything they want to learn, and they're going to go do it their own way, which is great. It's like a DSO, I think, is a great second residency almost. What I want to create, if I decide to go that, I think the next step beyond, we have the number 8 bestseller toothpaste on Amazon, which is crazy. It's cool. Our products are doing awesome. They're super fun and different. They taste great. Beyond changing the perception of dentistry and social media products and going to dental schools and speaking, would be creating the first dental franchise that is like us, that is so weird and very much patient-centered. I want to create a spot to where if you want to own a practice in your hometown and you want to do a startup, you just aren't great at design work, you aren't great at marketing, you're a little nervous about running a business, let's get Happy Tooth in there. Let's paint your walls for you. Let's teach you how to do social media. Let's run your social media. Let's get patients in your door. You just be the provider. You hire the people. You just franchise us out. You franchise the brand out for a small percentage.
Our brains are a lot more alike.
Good.
We're going to have to chat because I have similar thoughts.
Yeah, I just think like that's the biggest hurdle with DSOs is when a provider leaves. It really doesn't hurt the DSO. They just find a new provider. When a provider leaves, it doesn't really hurt the provider. They're gonna go find another spot to work. It really only hurts the patient. Period. If a parent gets attached to a provider, if a kid gets attached to a provider. Now, obviously, I'm with kids for 5 minutes twice a year. I'm not that special, but I think there is something to be said for someone that owns their space, that owns their employees and owns their systems and knows that everything that's happening is a result, good or bad, of them, versus an associate that's just showing up, punching the clock. Like, there's something to be said for, if I do a filling wrong, that's on me to fix. If I treat someone wrong, that's on me. If my employee does, that's on me, right? So that's how I want to create the next wave. If we go that route, if I go that route, that would be kind of my next huge project. So
it's super refreshing to hear the way that you think, because for a long time, at least in our little corner of the world, mostly we've been in ortho. We felt like we're on an island in terms of, we want to change the perception of orthodontics and treatment and early treatment, and make it about the kid and make it about their experience. And so I have loved everything that you've shared. And I know that Dr. Ashley has been following you on social media for a long time. And she was like, this guy's doing some stuff that's just like way out of the box and super cool. And so thank you for spending this time and kind of giving a peek under the hood beyond the social media persona and helping us understand a little bit more about what's it like in the practice. And I think that's been super.
Yeah, and we'll link all of your socials so that people can go follow you. I'm sure they already know who you are, but in case they're not following, follow. And then, of course, join our Facebook group. For anyone that is either dual specialty or pedo or ortho, it's a really great Facebook group. We just started it, but it's a great place for like-minded individuals that are business-minded and have a growth mindset.
Come check us out.
Love it. I just want to say thanks. Thanks for having me. Like, it still kind of blows my mind that people want to talk to me or want to, pick my brain, what little is left in my brain. But like, ultimately, if there's two nuggets I can leave anyone with, and I do this with every dental class, it's like, be entirely you in every way, whether you're marketing, whether you're being a provider, like, be you. Don't try to be somebody else. And then think of the patient at every step of the way, not just, I'm going to fix this tooth, but think of them every step of the way. So anyways, appreciate you guys. And thanks for all the love.
As we end, thank you for being here. Can we ask you to end on a really kind of unique, fun way? You said, I saw on one of your social media posts that like one of the things that you really love to do is do cringy dad jokes. What's your best off the cuff cringy dad joke?
All right.
I know this is kind of, I threw this one on you.
Painful. This is really painful. It's really painful. I got it locked and loaded, but it is painful to say it out loud.
Let's hear
and recorded. It. Wow, I can't believe I can do this. What do zebras have that no other animal has? Tigers have stripes, right? Tigers have stripes. Baby zebras. So zebras are the only animal that has baby zebras.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. That's stupid or what?
That is a dad joke.
I love it.
For
I
sure.
love it. I mean,
my husband also has dad jokes.
Oh man. Good. There we go.
Well, thank you so much for your time.
Oh no, absolutely not. That's making the final cut for sure. We're going to start with that. Actually, we're going to open with that.
Cool. Yeah, great.
No, Dr. Hanks, thanks again. I've enjoyed it. I know Dr. Ashley and I have really. It's been fun. I'm glad she introduced me to your brand and what you're doing. It's great.
Cool. Appreciate it, guys.
Thank you for listening to the Kids Biz podcast. We hope you gained valuable insights to elevate your practice. If you enjoyed the episode, please take a moment to leave us a review. It really helps us grow. Want to dive deeper into our community? Join the Kids Biz Facebook group for discussions, resources, and networking with fellow professionals. Until next time, keep striving for success in your ortho and pediatric practice.